name for the court?
My name is Richard Allen Wilson.
Where were you born, sir?
In Vero Beach, Florida.
Where did you grow up, Mr. Wilson?
Vero Beach and West Palm.
And in Vero Beach, Florida, did your family own some citrus groves?
Yes.
Who in your family owned citrus groves?
My grandparents, under the name of Hall.
Did you, sir, spend a lot of time in those groves growing up in the Vero Beach area?
We lived in the groves.
And what do you mean by that?
Our house was in the groves. Everything around us was citrus.
All right. Where did you go to school, sir?
I went to Indian River High School and Palm Beach High School.
Have you spent your entire life basically in Southeast Florida, sir?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilson, where do you currently reside?
I live in West Palm, out on Fernley Road, in west of Lantana.
How long have you resided there, sir?
About 30 years.
And what do you do for a living, sir?
I own a nursery there. We grow fruit trees and unusual ornamentals.
What is the name of your nursery?
It's Excalibur.
And what is the exact address? If you could pull that microphone back, it's a little loud, Mr. Wilson.
All right. How's that?
That's perfect, sir. What is the exact address of the Excalibur Tree Farm?
The main address is 5200 Fernley Road, but we have 5 pieces of property with 5 different addresses.
Approximately how many acres does Excalibur Tree Farm encompass?
16 and a half.
Do you consider yourself a farmer?
Yes.
How long have you been a farmer?
Off and on all my life.
Obviously, you like plants, correct?
Yes.
Tell the jury briefly what got you involved with plants.
When I was very young, I used to grow unusual bougainvilleas in like 5-gallon pots, and I would get $4 a piece for them. And at that age and at that time, that was a lot of money. And my mother saw an ad for these Ike's Flaming Sphere poinsettias that looked like feathers in a big round ball. And we ordered about 100 of those, and we started growing those. And we did that probably through junior high because they were very valuable. Later I went to school and put a little hole in my growing plants, but eventually I ended up back doing plants about 20 years ago.
Right, and have you continuously grown plants as a farmer for the last 20 years here in Palm Beach County?
Yes.
Within the Excalibur Tree Farm and growing plants, do you also grow trees?
I grow flowering trees or trees of medicinal value. I'll grow trees for people that have ongoing experiments trying to glean out what source they might have for medicine or something like that.
Within your practice as being a farmer, do you import plants?
Yes, I do.
Could you please tell the jury about that?
I travel recently mostly to Asia. Usually I hit at least 3 countries at a time. And I have friends over there now that'll actually look for plants for me. And when I show up, they'll take me in the nursery and show me the new and unusual things they've acquired. And I will usually bring plants to them that I don't think they have. And it's more trading than just buying from these people. But I might bring 20,000 plants back with me a year, and it'll be 100 new things per year.
And when you do this, when you import plants or trees, you have to have state licenses.
I have to have state and federal permits.
How many state and federal permits do you have which allows you to import trees and plants from other parts of the world?
I have 6 federal permits and 2 state permits.
And are you the sole owner of Excalibur Tree Farm?
Yes, I am.
And do you advertise?
No, I do not.
Why don't you advertise?
Everything is word of mouth. I've been busy since I started. There was never any reason to advertise. I'm not even in a phone book.
So all of your business comes from word of mouth referrals?
Yes.
How would you, for the jury, describe the range of your customers that you have that buy trees and plants from the Excalibur Tree Farm?
The citrus section, for example, in the Smithsonian came from our place, done through Rent to Kill out of Chicago. We go all the way down to an individual that just wants a little plant to put in a tiny pot and carry it back to Pennsylvania. You just never know. But we cover everything on plants.
So have you sold and provided trees or plants from the Smithsonian down to the individual person who wants to acquire a plant or a tree?
That's correct.
Approximately how many trees do you have at Excalibur Tree Farm?
I have no idea, but I know the inventory during the hurricanes averaged about 6 million in inventory.
And are you self-taught, sir?
Yes, I am.
And today, who do you supply plants to?
Anybody that wants to buy them.
And do you deal with state officials within your capacity of owning the Excalibur Tree Farm?
Yes, I do.
And how often do you deal with state officials in your owning the Excalibur Tree Farm?
We're inspected by a state inspector, just a nursery inspection once a year, to be allowed to, you have to be certified that the state is inspected to put trees on the highway. You're not allowed to transport them on the highway unless they're inspected. We go through that inspection once a year, and then we go through a monthly inspection for our citrus. It's kind of a separate thing. But they come in, and there's a nice lady that comes through and checks all of our citrus every year.
Sir, within owning Excalibur Tree Farm, do educational institutions come to your tree farm?
Yes, they do.
Could you name some of the educational institutions that come to your tree farm, and for what purposes?
The Spice Park has classes and that sort of thing, and they usually bring them up to us, and we'll set a tour. We had one last Monday, for example, of their staff. They wanted to bring them up and show them some of the new plants and the way we propagate and that sort of thing. But we do it for clubs. The Rare Fruit Council for Palm Beach County was out a week ago Saturday. There's 60 members in that. I went through the nursery. I spent about 5 to 6 hours just talking to the people about the plants and where they came from and the care that they took and that sort of thing.
Has the University of Florida visited your tree farm?
Yes.
For what purpose?
I imported a pomegranate that was very unusual, very productive in tropical climates, and it's the only one so far that's been productive. And they have a man up at the University of Florida that's very taken by this, and he knows I have 2 more that I'm evaluating, and he wanted to get copies of those other 2, but I wouldn't let him have them.
How about the University of Georgia?
University of Georgia visits me to look at the bananas that I bring back, because they have a big breeding program up there to produce a banana that will take the cold all the way into Georgia. And we had just brought back some blue stalk bananas from Thailand that didn't get damaged in any of the cold, so he was interested in that.
Have you, sir, with the Excalibur Tree Farm, have you sold citrus trees to homeowners from approximately 1999 until the present time, sir?
Yeah, we sold them probably before that.
When did you first start selling citrus trees?
It had to be in the late 80s.
And from your recollection, have you continuously sold citrus trees since that time?
Yes.
During the years, specifically now from 2000 until 2005, how would you, sir, price a citrus tree?
All our pricing, pretty much through the whole nursery, unless it's something really unusual, is done by pot size.
Right. And when you say a citrus tree is priced by pot size, what do you mean by that?
Every nursery usually picks a standard for their stock. You know, most of the people in the industry used a 3, 7, 15, 25, 45, and that sort of thing on up. And anything that was outside that size was considered very unusual. Usually we couldn't buy them in these unusual sizes, and it was very confusing to people buying them in these unusual sizes. So that we just used a standard pot size and we would pick it and go with it.
Would you price a citrus tree differently based upon its type or variety, such as an orange or grapefruit, or simply based upon pot size?
Pot size.
Why is that?
It would get too confusing.
Have you brought some pots here today to court which could assist the jury in explaining the different types of size trees that would grow in the various size pots?
Yes, I did.
And with these, in your mind, Mr. Wilson, these pots assist the jury in explaining the sizes of trees that would grow in the various size pots.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to witness step down for a second?
You down?
Yes. Let's start with this one for the jury, Mr. Wilson. What
actually has the size printed on this under it.
What size pot is this?
This is a 95 gallon. I don't know why they call it a 95 gallon, but this is what we consider a 100-gallon pot. Every manufacturer has their own little quirks on it. Hercules usually stamped 100 on there. And you can get this same pot slightly larger, but lower, and they call it a squat pot. So for some trees, you design that they don't have a deep root system, you prefer a wider pot.
Okay.
And they don't turn over as easily.
In going to this pot, Mr. Wilson, for the jury's benefit, what size pot is
This
this?
would be a standard 25-gallon pot.
And then going to this next pot, sir, what size pot is this, sir?
That would be a 15-gallon pot.
And then going to this pot, sir, what size pot is it?
Would be a 7-gallon pot.
When you have just taking these four different pot sizes, would the size of the tree vary in the pot sizes going from this pot size up until the 100-gallon pot?
Sure.
And have you, since you began selling citrus trees, become familiar as to how a citrus tree grows from this size pot up until the 100-gallon pot, sir?
Yes.
Could you please explain to the jury how a citrus tree grows from this size pot up into the 100-gallon size pot?
Typically in the nursery business, you can't put a small tree in a big pot. The soil is usually manufactured like ours is. We recycle things and get our soil from that. If you were to put just the soil in the pot, it would spoil with the water in the pot. It would actually break down a lot. So you start off and you bump these trees up in sequence until finally you get the tree in this pot that can use up the water in this pot in about 2 days. You want to be adding water to the pot. It's fresh, clean water, and it doesn't give the soil and the time it's in there with the water to spoil. It'll actually sour. Okay, you start in a 7-gallon pot. You'd actually start this. The whole story would start with a 4-inch citra pot. It's 4 inches square, about 14 to 16 inches tall. They put a seedling in it, they grow it up, they graft it, and when it's well grafted, they usually put it in a 3-gallon pot. And that's still something that you do just for growing the tree. You can buy the 3s, and some people do sell the 3s. But typically, they may put it in a 2-gallon pot even because it's just for the nursery to use. And they'll use an unusual pot, not too much soil, and then they bump it straight into a 7. But that 7-gallon would grow for a while, maybe 8 months or something, would put it into a 15-gallon pot. And it might grow there for a year and a half, and then it'd grow into a 25-gallon pot. And it might be in that 25-gallon for another year and a half. When it goes into the 100-gallon pot, it might be 5 years old before it's ready to sell in the 100-gallon pot, because it takes time to grow, and that's how the pots would be used.
All right, sir. You can just step back on the table before we go to next year. Did you, pardon me, were you familiar with the price of citrus trees from 2000 to 2005?
Yes.
And did you sell citrus trees throughout southeast Florida during that time?
Yes.
In addition to selling citrus trees and other trees at the Excalibur Tree Farm, here in Palm Beach County. Have you done consulting work?
Yes.
Have you done consulting work with the state of Florida?
Yes.
Could you please explain briefly the consulting work, sir, you have done with the state of Florida? Relevance? General background. Overall.
I was hired by the state of Florida to work for the DOT on a piece of land about 12 miles west of there on Route 60. The grove owners there had contended that when they widened the road, they
Your Honor? What was the nature of that project on State Road 60 as a consultant?
to evaluate the quality of the citrus.
Did you do that?
Yes.
And did you do that at the request of the Department of Transportation of the state of Florida?
Yes.
Have you done any consulting work for any towns, sir?
I've had towns have me check trees that they have to consult on damage done to them, that sort of thing.
Right. And have you done work for private corporations, sir?
Yes.
And have you done work for any charitable foundations or charities?
Yes.
Have you sold or provided any plants for trees to any local charities here in Palm Beach County?
Yes.
Have you done work for any organizations in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Yes.
What organization was that, sir?
That was the Phipps Conservatory.
What did you do, sir, for the Phipps Conservatory in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
I provided them with a collection of plants from Brazil for their Brazil exhibit.
On the Excalibur Tree Farm, sir, do you currently have citrus trees?
Yes.
How many varieties of citrus trees do you have on the Excalibur Tree Farm currently?
Maybe 20.
Back from the years 2000 through 2005, sir, how many varieties of citrus did you have at the Excalibur Tree Farm?
We grew 56.
And did you sell those 56 varieties of citrus from the years 2000 up through 2005 and 2007?
Yes.
And did you sell these citrus trees in these sized pots?
It would depend. Some of them never made a tree big enough to get in the 100-gallon. Like Buddha's hand lemon, probably the biggest would be 15-gallon.
What is a cultivar, sir?
Cultivar is a named variety. It's been selected because of some unique property.
And how many cultivars of trees and plants did you have at the Excalibur Tree Farm from 2000 through 2005, sir?
In citrus or total?
Both.
Citrus, I had about 56, and in total, back then we probably had 12 to 1,500.
What is a rootstock as it pertains to citrus, Mr. Wilson?
Sometimes a particular seed, this could be another cultivar, but it would be just for the root. It produces a very healthy root, and it might have resistance built in to fungus or bacteria or conditions in the soil. And that makes it very desirable to have that root. But the fruit on it might not be any good at all. So you'll take that root and you'll graft or T-bud or whatever I sign onto the top of that root, and you'll grow that. You'll have one kind of tree in the ground and another tree on the top.
All right. And have you observed citrus trees throughout the state of Florida?
Yes.
What during your career in selling trees, whether it be citrus, or what is the largest citrus tree you have ever seen?
I saw some grapefruit tree up in the central part of Florida, maybe a little to the west, that I'm guessing had to be 60, 80 feet tall.
All right. And what's the general lifespan of a citrus tree, sir?
It's normally considered in a grove that they would change about every 40 years. Some of that's because of the longevity of the tree, or it might not produce really heavy after a certain period of time, or it just might not be something you want anymore. You want to change to something, a better variety.
Does the age of the tree, based upon your experience, affect how much fruit the tree produces, sir?
Well, the bigger it is, the more fruit it produces. But health is the important thing. If it's pruned properly, or
does the size of the citrus tree affect how much fruit the tree produces?
no,
Why not?
because if it's bigger, it produces more fruit.
How old on average is a 10-foot grapefruit tree in a non-commercial setting, sir?
I would have to guess, and I would say 8 to 10 years.
And you've explained basically how do you take care of a citrus tree in general? You're talking about growing them in the pots, but how do you, in general, take care of a citrus tree?
You want this for the time period?
Yes, sir. Yes. From 2000 to 2005, how in general would someone take care of a citrus tree in someone's backyard?
They would fertilize maybe 3 times a year. That was kind of standard at the time. They would, they should spray, periodically with oil to get greasy spot and that sort of thing at a minimum. That kills a lot of things like spider mites and scale. Oil did a lot to clean the tree up. And usually you would probably rotate sulfur and copper to keep fungus down.
And within your job as a farmer, you take care of citrus trees, obviously.
Yes.
And you talked about what pot grown means, correct?
Yes.
What is field grown?
Field grown just means they put them in the field and they grow them. Originally, the groves would do that and dig them when they were small and move them into a grove, if they wanted to make maximum use out of their time and the property. But now, and even back then, they started field growing in grow bags that would contain the roots into a smaller area. And they would dig them up, pull the grow bag off, and then they might put them in a pot even and grow them for a short while and then sell them.
Back in the years 2000 through 2005, what were the pot sizes of citrus that you would sell at the Excalibur Tree Farm, sir?
We sold everything from 7 through 200.
Did you sell a 15-gallon?
Yes.
And how much did you sell a 25-gallon?
25, right?
Did you sell a 45?
We sold 45, 65, 100s, and 200s.
Do you still sell 200s?
No.
When did you stop that?
The state law changed that we could no longer grow citrus without it being inside a building. The building had to be covered with a really fine, ultrafine mesh, and I believe it was supposed to be pressurized and somehow controlled where nothing could get into the environment the tree was growing in. It was very expensive to produce a building just to grow 200-gallon stock, so we quit. And basically we're confined now to buying trees from people that grow them in buildings and then reselling them.
All right. Is the pricing of citrus in a container or black pot common throughout the industry?
Yes.
And was it common throughout the industry, this pricing from 2000 through 2005?
Yes.
From the years 1999, sir, through 2000, 2001 through 2003, through 2003 up to 2004 and 2005, did the prices of the citrus trees that you sold to anyone change?
They stayed pretty static up until the big changes now in citrus. This industry has a way of holding on to a price for a long, long time, and then suddenly it'll just jump overnight. And the jump might be 50% or so. It doesn't come up naturally 2 or 3% a year or anything. It's just, overnight you find out your neighbor's getting 1.5 times what you are, and you decide, I'm losing money on this, I have to raise my price, and you do. Sometimes it's predicated with rise in oil prices or something. I know mine were. My diesel went to $5 a gallon, and I raised every price in the nursery.
All right. Going to a 7-gallon pot, what is the typical size of a tree, a citrus tree in a 7-gallon pot?
It would be about 4 feet.
And going to a 15-gallon pot,
It would be 5 feet probably, maybe 6, because you need to understand that a grapefruit tree is going to be a lot smaller than, say, a murcot or something that grows straight up. You know, a lot of them grow out wide, some just get tall.
We're going to get to that in some photos
Okay.
in a minute. As far as a 25-gallon pot, what would the size of a citrus tree typically be in a 25-gallon pot?
It'd be 5 or 6 feet.
In regards to a 45-gallon pot, Mr. Wilson, what would the size be of a citrus tree in a 45-gallon pot?
It would be 6 or 7 feet.
In a 65-gallon pot, sir, what would be the typical size of a citrus tree in a 65-gallon pot?
It could be about 7 or maybe 8 feet, probably about 7.
In a 100-gallon pot, sir, which we have here in the courtroom, what would be the typical size of a citrus tree in a 100-gallon pot?
It would be 8 to 10 feet tall.
In a 200-gallon pot, what would be the typical size of a citrus tree in a 200-gallon pot?
10 to 12 feet.
When you sold citrus trees to buyers from 2000 through 2005, did you tell the buyers that would come to Excalibur how to take care of their citrus trees?
We've always handed out a little grow sheet, and we would explain to them the watering requirements, that sort of thing.
And you obviously maintain citrus trees at the Excalibur Tree Farm that you sold from 2000 through 2005. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you have the same price retail and wholesale during the years 2000 through 2005?
I don't differentiate.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you plaintiff's number 102, mark for identification, Mr. Wilson. Could you take time to review plaintiff's number 102, mark for identification, and tell me whether or not you recognize this document?
Yes.
And did I come to your tree farm at one point in time with Mr. Eric Hoyer and take some photographs of trees at the Excalibur Tree Farm?
You did.
And is plaintiff's number 102, marked for identification, 5 photographs that we took at the Excalibur Tree Farm?
Yes.
And did Mr. Eric Hoyer accompany me when we came to the Excalibur Tree Farm several months ago?
Yes, you did.
At this time, we move plaintiff's number 102 in evidence.
Come on, Your Honor. Yes.
Showing you plaintiff's number 52, marked for identification, Mr. Wilson. Do you recognize plaintiff's number 52, marked for identification, sir?
Yes.
And what is that document?
This is a partial list of some of the things that we produce.
And let me, pardon me, I forgot to read the second page. Yes. Is this the second page of 52?
Yes. This is still a partial list.
Okay. But the 2 pages here are a list of some of the trees that you sold at the Excalibur Tree Farm?
This was put together to give people an idea of what was there. And these are handed out at the nursery.
All right, sir. At this time, plaintiff has moved plaintiff number 52 in evidence.
May I say, Your Honor? Sir? Objection or no objection? Objection, hearsay, Your Honor. Okay, what is the response? Or do a copy?
This is 9.803 subsection 6. Finish record section.
Ask him to qualify this section.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Plaintiff's number 52, marked identification. Did you compile this list, sir?
Yes.
And was this list compiled with some of the trees you have in the inventory of Excalibur Tree Farm?
Yes.
And is this list commonly prepared by you in conducting your businesses at the Excalibur Tree Farm?
Yes.
And the list of trees here, is that compiled right after the time you take an inventory of some of the trees that you have at the Excalibur Tree Farm.
Only time we take inventory is after a hurricane.
And this list here, the 2 pages, plaintiff's number 52, marked on ID, is this document a commonly kept in the ordinary course of business of Excalibur Tree Farm through the years 2000 through 2005?
Yes.
Move plaintiff's number 52 in evidence.
Any other ones, Your Honor? Well, I'll allow you on cross to do that, and why don't I just have it right now marked for identification?
I object, Your Honor, because the witness apparently denied that this is a contemporaneous document. He said he only did inventory after a hurricane. I would suspect this is not an inventory compiled after a hurricane.
Okay, well, what is the number?
52, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll mark it for ID, and then I'll allow you to pursue that on your cross-examination. It's not going to get into evidence yet.
Did the witness step down to witness stand?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson, looking at these 5 photographs, are these blow-ups of the photographs of plaintiff's number 102 in evidence?
Yes, sir.
Showing you the first page of plaintiff's number 102, pardon me for walking before you. 102 in evidence. What is it?
That's 2 citrus trees and 7 gallons. One's a dancing tangerine, the other's a murdoch.
And what is the size pot that these trees are in?
And I think those are 7 gallon.
And what is the differentiation concerning the size?
Well, it outlines the fact that in the different trees, kind of their size is the same size pot. So you have to just kind of average them.
And when we went out there, did we pull trees out off the side of the driveway here?
Yes.
Did we take the time to pull the best trees or just the trees that were along the side?
No, it was just representative of the size.
And again, why is there a differential in the size of the trees in these 2 pots?
Same reason I'm taller than you are.
Okay. And showing you the first page of plaintiff's number 1, what was the price of the trees in the first page of plaintiff's number 102 in evidence?
Back in the
From 2000 to 2005,
It would have
yes.
been $45 or $50 a piece.
And that price stayed pretty consistent in these 7-gallon pots from
Yes.
2000 to
A
2005.
long time didn't change at all.
Showing you the second page of plaintiff's number 102 in evidence with the number 2 on it. What size gallon pots are these?
These are 15-gallon pots.
And what, by the way, how tall are you?
I'm 6'2" barefoot.
Okay.
Right now I'm about 6'2" and a half.
And what types of trees are in these 2 pots in the photograph with number 2 on it?
You have navel orange and a dancing tangerine.
And back from the years 2000 through 2005, what was the price of these types of trees in a 15-gallon pot?
These would have been right at $100. I need to point out something here. Sometimes my prices are a little higher than some people, but I had everything. And my business has been built on having a really good selection, so you didn't have to drive all over. But these are, people are willing to pay it. They bought them from me, so that was the price.
Did you sell your inventory based upon these prices in the open marketplace
Yes.
from the 2000 to 2005?
Yes, I did.
Did you ever have any problem selling your inventory of citrus in the open marketplace during those years?
When the state decided we would be limited to 50, I was sitting on 3,500, and I sold them. A little over a year.
Showing you the third page of 102, plaintiff's number 102, in evidence, sir. What size gallon pot is this?
That's 25 gallons.
And what is the size of the tree on average in a 25-gallon pot?
About 6 feet.
And-
Something else I need to point out. These are trees that are from modern times now. The trees we sold in the years you're talking about would have been slightly smaller. Right now, everything from inside a building is littered with nitrogen, and typically they come in bigger than we ever saw in those years. So these are extraordinary trees based on the height of the tree. So if I tell you that something was 5 or 6 feet tall, that's what it was during the years he's asking.
All right.
This tree is probably 6 foot planted.
Okay. And what would be the size of a citrus tree in a 25-gallon pot from 2000 through 2005 to 6, Mr. Wilson?
Probably 5 or 6 feet.
What would be the price of that in the pot? I'm sorry, pardon me.
25 gallon would have been, I think, 175.
Did I ask you what variety was this was?
Looks like a Valencia.
Valencia orange? Showing you number 4, page number 4, plaintiff's number 102 in evidence, Mr. Wilson. What size pot is this?
I think that's a 45.
Okay. And again, what would be the price of that?
At that time, it would have been about 250.
A 65-gallon pot. What would be the approximate size of a citrus tree in a 65-gallon pot and the size?
It would have been maybe a foot taller than this and heavier. Maybe 7 feet.
All right, what would the price be of a 65-gallon?
Around 300.
Showing you page number 5, the plaintiff's 102 in evidence with number 5 on that. Pardon me, Mr. I'm sorry, I forgot this. What size pot is in the photograph with the number 5 on it?
That's a 100-gallon pot that would correspond with this.
This right here.
Yes.
And what was the approximate height of a citrus tree in a 100-gallon pot from the years 2000 up through, let's say, 2006?
10 to 12 feet.
And what would be the price of a citrus tree in a 100-gallon pot for the years 2000 up through 2006?
About $400.
When the tree grows in these various, you can return to the stand, Mr. Wilson. As far as a 200-gallon pot, from the years 2000 up through 2006, sir, what would be the approximate size of a citrus tree in a 200-gallon pot?
It would still probably be about 12 feet, but it would be a lot heavier. It might be a foot taller than the 100, but you didn't get a lot more height than you got heaviness, bulk. You get caliper, more limbs, be much wider.
What would the price be of any variety of citrus in a 200-gallon pot during the years, or from the years 2000 up through 2005 and 2006 approximately?
We got $500 for a 200-gallon.
Okay. And we talked about the pot size. Concerning the bulk and size of the tree, how would you describe the growth of the bulk and size of the tree as you find them in the 7-gallon pots up through the various size pots through the 100-gallon pot?
Most of it is caliper change. They just get heavier trunks on them. I don't know, you want it done by time or pot or?
Just, you said caliper, what do you mean by caliper?
The thickness of the diameter of the trunk.
Okay. And how does that change over time?
The one in a 7 gallon, it might only be an inch, inch and a half. Something in the 15 gallon would be a solid inch and a half. In the 25 gallon, it might go as high as 3 inches. And in the 100 gallon pot, the caliper might be 4 inches. A 200 gallon pot would be around 5 inches. But there would be a lot bigger top on it because the area would be a whole lot bigger on a 5 inch than a 4 inch. You don't just go up, 1 inch increments because the area is what you have to consider. And the difference between the 100 and 200 would have about twice the actual wood area.
All right. The prices that you have discussed with the jury, the 7 gallon, 15 gallon, the 25 gallon, the 45 gallon, the 65 and 100 gallon pots, up through the 200 gallon pots from the years 2000 through 2005. Were these the prices that were charged in the wholesale and retail market in this community? Basically.
There are some people that had them cheaper and there are people that had them worth more money. But I was one of the predominant people in the industry selling in this county.
And when you would price trees or have trees back to this period of time, would you check your prices, other nursery prices in the area?
Yes, I did.
Just a minute, Your Honor. Thank you. 1 minute, please.
Okay.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.